I am going to create an app so I can just post quickly on this one page, right? So Rails new message, we'll just chat. What we're going to have is just that we want to use JavaScript to push everything to the front instead of using regular HTML. Okay. Oh, that's strange. We have some new gems. So our app is called Chat. Create and run the server. And we should be able to get it. See, Rails 5 is so buggy. It's so annoying. What happened just now? Where's that server? I need to kill this server. Okay. So that's chat. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. We run the server, and let's just create. Oh my God. Rails server. All right. Then, okay, in the interest of going even faster, I'm going to turn on my live reload. Hold on. Code demo chat. Okay. All right, so this guy's on the left, and here's my code here on the right. I will tell my Ruby gem to use 3.1, so 2. Ruby version. Okay, so first commit. So let's create a thing called maybe message, right? Or maybe yeah, just Rails generate resource message. Just you have just one thing called maybe message body. Oh, good lord. So after 2.3.1 now, message body, and then we just migrate that. This screen is so small. Okay, and let's go to route. Can someone turn off the lights over this one? Go to messages root index, and we go to messages. Let's display all the messages so far. Yeah. What it's messages is message.all. We're going to create this view messages, and let's display all of them. Are you sure? You did this before. Huh? Okay. Alright, so I'll just put a message body. I don't have Bootstrap here, so we're all on our own. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so messages.each. Let's say if we're lucky, this page that works, right? Now we need to create some. Let's create some message, right? Message.create body first. Hello, and then another one. Is it me? Okay, and if I save this, I see two of these guys. All right, so let's create a form right down here. Form for. By now you know your form, right? Message.new. What do we have here? text field body. I guess to turn off this one. All right, so we have that. Oh my God! Yay! Wait. Can you? Okay. All right. So text. Good, right? Now we need to style this a little bit better. When you create the Rails resource, what you have is the assets folder. In this folder, you have the messages CS, right? So I'm going to go in here and style, and each message, I just style it. Let's say border 1 pixel solid. Say maybe black, because screen is probably not. So let's make it gray. And padding 20 pixel. So there's some space around me. For this file to get used, you want this application.js, .css to include it, to include this guy. Most of the time, we don't use this CSS, right? Because we don't use the syntax. So I'm going to remove that file, asset style sheet application.css, rename it to SCSS, right? And now if you look at this thing on the left, it's now SCSS, and I can remove this whole thing. I could do Bootstrap, but I don't have it, so I'll just messages. Sounds good, right? And then so far we have that. So we already have the messages, it's neat like that. Now when you do form 4, over here, this field, this f.text field, what it's doing is that it creates an HTML field called name new message body, and that's the name, the ID, right? That's the ID, and then name. What is name? This is HTML. It's submitting to message body, so that's why you get params message body, and then there's a value, right? You don't believe me? You go in here, you click Command Option J to open that, and then click this, right? This is input message body. Press Escape to bring this guy down. Input type text. That's what we have. So let's style it a little bit. Let's style this guy. Just cancel the server. Create the server over here. It's not. Oh my God. Okay. Let's style this box. So what's this form on the left? It's go to messages. You can just do a form, but here is actually a form with message ID. So I'll just maybe this is another solid. Maybe this time I'll just do blue, and padding also 20%, 20 pixel, margin top. All right. So if I enter this, it should actually add some text to the top, right? How do we do that? Actually, let's make this input. Now, SCSS, you can nest the structure, right? So here you can say input type text. Yeah? What is it? You want it to be maybe, you want it to be a little bit bigger. So 5 pixel. To make this box a little bit bigger, right? Maybe you want a width to be like big like that. And if you actually display as block, then it will be on its own line. Okay, that's fine. Now we want to submit this. Let's allow, go here, press enter, and it will go there. Add to dev create. Okay, so how do we submit? So I'm just gonna raise something here. Hello, right? And I go back to my index down here. I need one more thing what's missing. F submit. If you leave it empty, it will automatically create the name for the button. It will be called create resource name, create message, right? If it's an existing message, then it will say update message. We already know that. So if I now type something and press enter, it's submitting, right, to my page, and it's hello. But what's important to know is, we have this params, and by now you all know that. Let's create. How do we create this
Message params.
Okay, so message params dot require message dot. So it looks like a hash, and in Rails 4 it's a hash. Rails 5 it's an action controller parameter. So we have this message param. So you do message is message dot new.
Message params.
Okay, what's next?
If message dot set.
What? Redirect to.
Root path, right?
Huh?
Into the
That's fine. Okay. Else, render new. How do you show the error?
raise.
So first, let's make sure we have some error. Validate.
Presence.
Body presence true. And then how do you show the error?
Notice.
Okay, fine. But then the error is actually in. Now you need to change this to message. It comes from the controller, right? You can also do so if there's no message, then you create this new. But now let's just use message all the time. Okay, and here you can pass message dot errors, display it. Makes sense, right? If you want to reuse this form, sometimes you can cheat. Form for f here, f dot object is the same as message, so you can always write the same code. So errors dot full messages dot to sentence, and I'm going to wrap this guy in some sort of error, right? It's in this error div, and then I go to message, this here, error, then border 1 pixel solid red, right? Now because we don't have the error on the left is due to the fact that we don't have
The
new, right? Not new, but we just say build message, so I just call that the same. So I call this build message. Usually if I write a more complicated, okay, so I build this message with this. Build is you don't save to database, right? So I have message. Why is it still failing? Huh? Huh? Yeah, there's no need. I'm on index view right now, so I save it. So as you can see, right now you can actually say, well, if f dot object dot errors dot present, then you display them. So you don't have that red box, right? But if you go here and then you press enter, right? What's happened?
missing the new.
Okay, so you want to render index, yeah? But then when you render index, then you also have to load these guys. So let's see. I go back to the previous page. Alright, I'll show you the URL. This is when another thing, Rails 5 is just slower, it's trying to connect to both the socket, and it's quite annoying. So I restart it. Okay, so if I press now enter, right, we get there so fast. Okay, so if I create it at here, right? All right, let's see. What's your question? Here? Down here. If you use redirect to, you lose the error. So what you have over here is that message dot errors. It's something you can show, which is this. if you type here, this is body cannot be blank. That's why we don't redirect. If you redirect to, here's another thing. You can just say redirect to root path, but then you say, hey, display me the error. And how do you display that error?
Errors.
How do you display that error? Message.errors dot full messages dot to sentence, right? So that's the idea. Okay? So we understand why we use render instead of redirect, right? So and then this alert, this just mean it's a shortcut for flash alert. We know that, right? Okay. So that's all I have for this to seem to work like a message stream. But this is HTML. Okay. Now, Rails is all about convention, and when things are small, this is easy to build. But it's very important to know so we don't abuse the convention too much. What it's trying to do, a convention here is that, right? It's implicit. If I type this in here, it's the same, right? If I type render this action index, that's also the same. So, but what's happening here is actually respond to, you can actually handle different format. So if it's HTML, then you just render the HTML file. What if it's JSON? Then you can actually render JSON. So if I go here and I say dot JSON, then I have these JSON files, right? But for AJAX, we could use JSON, or we can also use format.js. So you can actually write JavaScript in here. Let's say you can actually do render, So then it's a little tricky. I can't get it. You have to request it. You can't do it from the browser. So let's do it because it's just this is the security violation. You cannot trigger JavaScript from this bar, right? Address bar. So how do we make this work? From this, if remember this index thing, this form. What if I call this remote true? Has anyone done it? So when I do this remote true, your form include one more thing. Down here, it's called data remote equals true. Okay? Yeah? You see this, right? So how does it work? Rails include, when you go to JavaScript file here, Rails include something called Rails, this jQuery UJS. Which is just, and in there, let's see, jQuery UJS, the source. Okay. 1 second, let me try to find. Okay, it's this file is included in Rails, and then if you say data remote in your Rails app, when you do data confirm, data method, like when you sign out, you can make a link become a delete action. That's data method. When you say data remote for a button or a form, it's applying JavaScript, alright, instead of submitting by HTML. So let's see what happened. Nothing will change. You don't see it load, but because it's remote. When I press this, look at this console. When I press this guy, nothing changed, right? Nothing changes here, but you see that it's actually posting in the background. And that's why it's called AJAX, because what's AJAX? Yeah, asynchronous JavaScript. Now XML is just the in the old days always return XML, but now you don't. So basically, it's the implementation is that it's sending a request in the background, and we get something back. So let's see what we get something back. If you click on this, if you go to the network tab, you actually see this messages here as a new request you just did, right? And you click on it. I can also click from here, okay? It's the same idea. You can click here, it goes here, and then you click here again. It shows you this, the response, okay? It shows you the response. So I submit something that I expect JavaScript to come back to me, but it's rendering me the HTML. Okay? And why is it rendering HTML? Well, it's trying to render this body cannot be blank here. It's rendering this because right now the default is HTML, right? So what if I do format dot what? Oh no, respond to do format. Obviously, you see sometimes people type that, and it can be anything. It's a block. So format.html. Then you can do an or a block, right? Because this is short, so you can actually copy this line and put that there. Nothing changes. But format.javascript, you can enter some JavaScript here. So let's say, not sure if this works, I've never done it. So let's set alert. Hey, okay? Yeah, let's try it. I click this guy. Hey, whoa, how can I write more JavaScript, right? But you're writing JavaScript in Ruby, that's not nice. So what we're doing next is we're going to create a JavaScript file. So it's actually common you can create a you don't do create.html, right? Because you always redirect in HTML world. But in JavaScript, it's okay. So what's your question?
Just format you create a new file JS is meant
Yeah.
by a partial one, right?
Yeah, so it's rendering a template. So in this view, right now messages you only have that. So I create one more thing called create.js. But if you only have a JS file, you cannot pass variables to it. How can you have variable? You can do just like HTML. You can do this. Yeah? Alright, so now I have that. So I say, hey, I can type, write as much JavaScript as I want. Yeah? Ready? So I do it one more time and I create this. Hey, I can write it. So that's cool. But how can we make it useful? Similar behavior but JavaScript. Okay. I want to display this error. Body cannot be blank. Yeah? Let's display this. Where should we go? We go to index down here. We're submitting a form remote now. It's submitting by JavaScript. Okay? It's not submitting by HTML anymore. When you have an error, you want to display the error in here, right? But this element is not here yet. So let's say I can also have error wrapper if I really want to be, lazy, because this is just invisible, so nothing will change. You just have error wrapper like that. Okay? Nothing changes. It's just an extra div. It's invisible, right? But now in my create, I can use jQuery to get that guy. Okay? I can display HTML, or I can insert HTML in it. So we can do this. Of course, you should put a semicolon. But now, look what I what I do, I refresh this page and I do this, it's error. Make sense? But I want to display the same thing as this error. So you can actually copy and paste this guy and put in here, right? Would that make sense? Yeah? It's just string now. Does it make sense? But if you want it to look like very good, right? Then you say, oh, div class error, and then you close it with a div here. Does it make sense? Yeah? But then that's a lot to type. And you have the same logic. You have the same logic up here and down here. Who has an idea how to make it better? Any trouble over there? Does it make sense?
We change the input object to
Yes.
icon.
So this is, thank you very much. So this is message. Yeah. So Tang, it's very, very sharp there, right? So that's what we do there, right? But Rails give you something really powerful, partial. So this whole thing, let's render an object like this. I will render it, I call it form error. Yeah? I call it a partial, so that means I have this, notice messages form error. And then this basically I just have object. That's it. Object errors. Sounds good? If you're at home, maybe you don't like displaying like that. Maybe you want to display by UL, right? And then each one of this is each do error, right? Message, and then li message. It's like so many ways you can style it. Does it make sense? But I'm just lazy here. Okay, so I'll just change it to this now. You guys see the partial, right? How can I use this partial? I save this guy. I go down here. I need to pass the object to it. So I can pass message, right? Or I can pass f dot object. It's the same. Yeah? Now, that still things are the same. I'm just refactoring the code to that partial. But now I can do the same thing up here. Your code is so much shorter. Render form error object. What is it? Message. And where's message from? I have message from my controller, right? This message, right? Let's see if it works, right? So great. This. Uh-oh. It's not working. Why? So this happens a lot when you guys may forget. What happens is I click here. I click this guy. Now I can see, oh, you see the content is very simple, right? That is JavaScript being returned. But what's wrong with this code? What's wrong with this code? This is very common. So you have, what's the word? You have to escape. So the way to escape is to type escape JavaScript. Right? And then you're good. So one more time, click this, and then I insert. Boom. Nice. Now you do this so often that they just give you a shorter helper. It's called J. So that's cool. We can have this form without refreshing the whole thing at all. Now how can we do that for the thing up here? How can we do that for the thing up here? Remember it's in create.js, right? So actually this only happens if message is not valid, when there's an error. Does it make sense, guys? When there's an error, I run this JavaScript. When there's no error, huh? Good, so success, right? So what should we do? So let's say if I have a, you see I have one message here. What if I have a messages and wrap the whole thing in here? Huh? Yeah? Yes. So you can append, but now in here it's JavaScript again. So now you know escape. Now you can just render message, huh? And then you pass in the variable message. Yeah? But we don't have that partial. So we take this guy and turn it into a message partial. Notice this line here, message. Save that. Down here, you pass it a variable called message. Okay, does it make sense? Does it make sense? If I refresh this page, does it still run? Oh, it runs. It means my messages.each blah blah blah. It runs, right? That's good. If I say one more thing is here, hey, and I press create message, what's happening? This hey go here, it just jump a little bit. So and it just add here. So that's message append. How can you clean this up? You know, this whole line in Rails, this whole line is the same as this line. Rails just do that for you, so you can clean that up like that, right? So I reload this page, it still run, good. But then these three lines, it's the same as render messages. So then you can also clean it up like that. It still run, right? Up here, same idea. So you can just say render message. It know where to find it under messages/message, right? And how can you clean it up more? Up here, usually you want to have an ID as well, right? So then usually down here the ID is message ID, you know, 1 2 3, right? And that is because you want to get this message sometimes if you want to edit it. So message.id. Alright, so it's easier to, you can go into jQuery and you can find that. So why do we need this? Very quickly, if I do this, then in each message I have a message ID here. If I have a destroy.js.erb action, you can go to console here. I can call that message get my message for, and then you can just say remove, right? And it's gone. Right?
What a message for.
Right, so we don't, but in this case, let's just, you know, maybe do message.id here. But that's the idea, right? And then now if you do, I don't think it's, right, so do you see for disappear? So that's how you do destroy, right? So destroy is easily done by, what if you want to do the def destroy message dot find dot destroy, right? And again you want to do respond to, I wonder if I can do this. Okay, no, let's render text. So respond to, let's say if I only deal with this, and I go to destroy.js.erb. Now here's the thing, you can do ERB, but you can also do CoffeeScript. So you can do coffee. That's okay. This is just not as smart, so it's okay. I'll create a file. But you can do CoffeeScript. It's the same idea. Just if you want, you can learn CoffeeScript in 10 minutes. It's super easy. But what's the idea here? You have message ID, so you want to do message underscore message ID dot remove. That's it, right? So in here, then you can have a link to remove. So down when you display these messages, let's go to the message partial. You want to remove it, right? Let's have a link delete. Right? Let's just make it a slightly nicer. It's an arrow, and then you just send to message. You send to message, but the method is
Destroy. Method
delete.
Yeah.
So this is a link, but it converts it similar to a form. So what's happening? I see this, and if I press, it will submit a HTML request. But then you can say data remote true. Then you send a JavaScript request, right? But because it's common enough, so then you just do data remote true. Okay? Now, if you click this, done very fast. You see down here, delete. Okay? So that is a short version of, so now if I refresh, right, the page is already what I expect. It's slightly faster. Now with action cable or like with WebSocket, next lecture we can demo where you might be able to do it in the lab, where if I delete here, it will also delete here without refreshing the browser, right? But right now, if you do that here, then over here you either have to tell the JavaScript to load the page every 5 seconds, or you have to refresh, right? Any question about that part? Okay, so the time's up. So I'm going to show you just a little bit more on the source code. I click here, view source code. Okay. How do I view source code, guys? Do you know?
It's like it's way down there. You can type like view sources.
Huh? So I go to view, developer view source. That's command. Okay, command shift U. All right, this guy. See, the way TurboLinks work is that it keeps the head rendered. Every time you submit something, TurboLinks actually only change the things down here, the body. So it's already quite fast. In the past, when you reload the whole page, then this AJAX thing makes things a lot faster. But TurboLinks already making it quite fast. So nowadays you don't have to do what we just did. But in some cases, it's still very useful to know. So it's important to learn. Do you guys see all these different files? Who knows what they are? So when you deploy to Rails production, it all get compiled into one file. Yeah? Application.css, application.js, right? And that is called manifest file. This guy, you import all of this guy. That's why it's better to write code in other places and you import. Don't write code here, right? It's just, you can, but it's just ugly, right? You want to use it for one purpose, include other files. JavaScript is the same idea, but look, I'm requiring jQuery, UJS, TurboLinks, and you see jQuery is here, UJS is here, TurboLinks is here, right? And because you do require tree, it also requires this cable.js and channels. If I remove this tree and I reload this page, you see it only requires these files. So the files it requires, and then whatever is at the bottom of this application.js file. But when you deploy to production, all of this get combined, right? Minified. Now when you include, who knows when you do require bootstrap, right? It also combine all. Bootstrap has like 10 different JavaScript files, and then it does that into combine into one, and then you have a require bootstrap here. But if you require bootstrap sprocket, then you actually requiring individual files, and when you do that, you will see a lot more files down here. It's easier to debug, so it's just different ways to use it. But when you go to production, they're all the same. When you push to Heroku, it compile your assets. So in lecture note, if we can still open this portal, it works now, huh? I'm gonna lose sleep tonight trying to fix this portal. So what we just covered, I mentioned a little bit about Rails assets. When you have, free time. Oh, it's not this guy. Forget about that one. Rails assets pipeline. You're curious? This is this is important to understand. And working with JavaScript now actually makes sense if you read it based on what I just demoed. It's one thing I didn't explain. So here's when you use the data remote through, etc. One thing I didn't explain is this this guy. I don't know if we have we don't have time. So okay, when you render a page, so I will do this real quick. JavaScript messages. So this messages.coffee here. Here is a CoffeeScript file. It gets compiled to JavaScript, right? So it's not exactly compiled, just more like transpile. So I think it requires that. So you can say console.log hello, and then when you open this file, why is it not allowing me? Oh, because I didn't include, right? Require messages. So then you load hello. But what if you want to display the number of messages? So I say there are n messages. So what is this n variable? N equals messages dot length. Yeah? You can do it here, right? Messages dot length 1. Wait, why is it 1? 2, right? Oh no, this is not messages, but message. Messages is the wrapper. Okay, 2. All right. So when you say there are n messages, do you think it will work? Do you think it will work?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the time, the job cannot be rejected.
Yeah, so if you load this page, messages is here. Rails execute this when you go down here. So when it does this, the DOM has not been loaded. But jQuery has already been loaded, so that's why you understand what this thing is. So that's why jQuery provide you something. If I'm going to create one more file. I've said JavaScript harley.js here. Just to compare with you, this is CoffeeScript, right? In harley.js, okay. In this harley.js file, I'll just do console.log. I say message length. Okay, you will see that it's nothing. Okay, so this is in harley.log, harley.js. Okay, and I also include down here. All right, let's run this. Message length is 0. So when you work on your other apps, you always do this. Basically, I want to make sure this load first. So I say, who knows, document dot ready, and then in here you put a function. Function, and then in here you wrap that. So you wait until the document is done. So when you do this now, message length is 2. Beautiful, right? Because this happens so often that jQuery gives you a syntax that's even shorter. It becomes just like that. It's the same. Yeah? Also document ready. You see this in a lot of JavaScript library. Yeah? So also the same. Okay, good. But how can we say there are 10 0 messages? How can we do that on CoffeeScript side? You can do document ready. But how you do a function in JavaScript? You don't write this function. How do you write that in JavaScript and CoffeeScript? It's this thing, this arrow. But also in CoffeeScript, so it's actually an arrow like that. Okay, so that's document ready, and also 2 messages. But in CoffeeScript, this is optional. The parentheses, just like Ruby, so you can put it away. Right? It will still run. Right? And notice there's no comma or anything. Right? And you don't have to do this dirty thing with similar to JavaScript anymore. CoffeeScript also give you this, similar to Ruby. Right? And then also 2. And then because this is a function, you can actually get rid of the whole thing and you can just do like that. Right? And it's the same thing, because if you look at, that's why this guy worked the same way. See that function? That's CoffeeScript. If you want to practice CoffeeScript, install Node, and then you go to Cloud Console, and then this is CoffeeScript for you. And you can create a function that take 1 argument, and then just say event is something like that. But it's a function. Practice. CoffeeScript is cool. But now it's not as important anymore because JavaScript, ECMAScript 6 is just as good. So now, sorry to keep you. This is not enough. A lot of people who go into Rails run into a problem. This is nice. Notice when I do this, it load. But what if I change this create message back to, if you go to a different page, so I don't have a different page to go to now. It doesn't load the entire page. So let's say I have let's say very quickly I show a message. Let's go to a message controller and we do a def show without using the view. Okay, def show, and then we message dot find. We're just gonna render that partial. You have to use the word partial here, because otherwise it doesn't understand. And then you have to pass in the variable. So I don't need a show.html, I'm just going straight there. So technically, if I do now 5.messages.5, what's happening?
There is no 5.
Why is it 5? Oh, messages, right? So show this, right? Is that okay? And I need a layout, so never mind. I need layout, so let's just create this show.html.erb very quickly, and in this I render message, and in index, when you click on a message, when you do this, let's link to as show this message. Okay. All right. So with that, now I can click R, and it takes me to this guy. Okay. Now note, if I refresh this page, it still runs this guy, right? But if I go back here and I click here, it doesn't run it. This is something that a lot of people waste time on. It doesn't run, but I'm supposed to run it every page. This is why sometimes your logout link doesn't work. Right? Well, because if I refresh this page, then it runs again. So that's why you have to, in here, it just explained that normally you do document ready, but because with Rails, TurboLinks does the hard work. So you have to, instead of document ready, you use this. Oh, so what is exactly document ready? It's actually, the longest form is actually document.on ready, and then you pass in a function. But then you just like on click, then you have a click function. So that's why you can call document ready, right? and then you pass in a function. So now they say, actually you have to do this. Don't do document ready. So how? Well, instead of this thing here, you have to use document on this guy. So you have to go back to the long way, document on turbolink load function. Does that make sense? That make sense? Yeah? And same with over here. Of course, this here you can use the short format. You can do this here. So by fixing it this way, then your code works beautifully. When you go here, it works here, but you go to root page and you click this guy, it will still run this now 1 and 2 again, right? And usually the logic is that in this, you're calling JavaScript inside here. Normally I just call it, let's say, I just name it something like an object. Maybe reporting, you just say counter. It's a JavaScript object, and oh, this is JavaScript CoffeeScript, so I can just say init, and it's a function that run these two things. And down here, then I just pass in as counter.init. It's just cleaner. Put your code where it is, write function, and then call the function down there. Does it make sense? That's CoffeeScript. Right? Does that make sense? On Harley here though, counter is harder to write. So there's here like var. If you don't use var, then it becomes global variable, right? Or then you can also use var window dot counter. So here is an object. That's a JavaScript object, and then you left is, and then on the right hand is a function. And you do this thing over here, and it's the same. You call harley.init. Does that make sense? So as you write more JavaScript, you want to put them in the right function in other places. And of course, you can just declare a global function instead of putting it in an object or a class, like blah. And then you can actually call blah in here, right? It's cleaner if you wrap it in an object. You will see this everywhere because it's just so it's not too noisy. You can move this whole code, this object, to another place. Okay. Thanks for staying, guys. Sorry for keeping you so long today.